Hey everybody, David here. So, we have obviously a mostly finished cruciform, but we also have a mostly not finished back of the UCL Quad. So, I'm hoping this will only take 1 or 2 episodes. But the goals to finish off, because this is the quad, and I haven't done the back. It's very hermitcraft of me, actually. So the goal is to finish the back. There's actually also a building here. There's a gap in between two build. Like, this is actually waiting for a new front. I wasn't sure if I should just clone what's on the other side here or not. So this is an outside surface, and then there's a gap of like a road plus 2 parking spaces wide width, and then there's another building here. And the real map, it's actually like crooked, so it's sort of, instead of being straight, it goes from sort of this place to gently bending over here. And the road, this little road actually follows that bend, but at the beginning I chose not to, mostly because it squishes this building, which I still haven't decided whether I should make or not. Although I suppose from here it could be bent that way. I don't know. So there's a whole building here that needs to be done. It's actually, I think, a series of buildings mashed together. I believe there is actually something here. I don't remember what. I haven't looked at the map for a little while. And a new face for this. In this section here. And I wanted a completely new building here. In the original, there's actually sort of a building going this way as well, next to the road. So the road runs the whole way, all the way out in a whole block, and then turns to go past my fashion shop that failed. I might give that one another go as well. In the original, there were other places, other departments for the university, like the medical training centre, which obviously also needs a back put in. I think this might have actually been an office block of some variety. Looks like it should be like a factory, but it's a funny place to put a factory. And other than actual departments for training at the university, there were also like little enclaves of like hostels and places for people to flat. I believe there was a line across here of little houses, like rental or like council, rent controlled type things. I still have the conundrum of how to put the parts of the university here that are actually canon, established canon. None of these buildings would work for established canon unless I put this considerably higher. It would probably be higher than the dome. There's no way. The library building in Turner's Notebook is really tall. It overlooks sort of a green area which leaks around the corner, and then there's an admin building. So I still haven't figured out what to do with that, but this is undone and I want it done. If only just because I feel like I'm being mean. Like, just leaving it half done just feels mean. It feels mean. And this part won't look anything like the real one, because this part quite frankly, is dull. I mostly wanted to do the quad because the quad looked really, really cool, and I particularly love, for some reason, I really like I think it's Greek, Roman, the style with the pillars anyway, and the steps, and the grandness. I really like that kind of style. So this bit was fun. I liked this bit. So the rest of it's kind of not dull, like boring, sucks, blah blah blah. It just means dull as in that's the same pattern over and over, which is why I did this section just having a go. So I'll probably have a go as well with these parts. I've already started there. But the goal is to try and get as much of it finished as possible in this episode. Hopefully it'll be this episode or the next episode. It'll be interesting to finish a build series on episode 12 instead of like 5, like it's normal. Or 3. But this won't be limited to time. I'm just doing the intro now, and then we can go looking around for other building fronts to put on and have a play, and then just make an episode out of various design trials. I'm not going to say this has to be posted next week or anything. But I want it done, I want it finished, I want it pretty and functional. Because you never know, I might use the university campus in future books. I've got a virtually infinite universe to write within, so why not? But the backs of things need to be fixed. And I wouldn't mind, if possible, if I get an inspiration to actually do that road that goes the whole way around that way. I may cheat, I guess, and maybe like bring it in here to this road and then put it that way, and then put my unique building there, sort of here, and other buildings in the middle. But I'll see what Muse wants to do, because as with writing, the Muse usually is right. And I'm just going to go here and stare at the cruciform. It's so pretty. It was such a hard job, but gosh, it's pretty. Anyway, wish me luck, because you get to go the fast way. Wish me luck, and cue the music. And welcome back. Boop. Looks pretty cool from street level. Actually, it's quite a lot bigger than it looks. I have just done the basics. I wanted to do enough decoration so it looked like the actual building. I don't know if I've done the slope and the roof right, but sounds kind of mean, but these are mostly placeholders just to fill in the space, which is why if you look through the glass, there are no floors. But I did put in stairs, which you probably should have seen in the montage. Stairwells that go all the way up. I quite enjoyed this building. It's pretty and light and airy. I totally forgot to do the line, the wall here, but that's okay. It gives me an out. Now this was framed early on before I even did any of that, and I discovered the hard way that how I make the scale for my game has obviously changed, because this building is supposed to be the same width as this building, and I followed my normal scale. If I wanted to get it the same size as the glass building, which I believe is a bus station or a train station, like a underground station or something. We don't have subways, or many subways in New Zealand, certainly not where I live. But the only way I could get it to fit the glass was to make this side to like take out 2 sets of windows and pillars. And I tried it. You might have seen the attempt in the montage. It just didn't look right, so I did it anyway, which is why it's got a fat bum on it. Not that I'm against fat bum buildings, but it is considerably wider. I think it's 12, something like that, 12 to 15 blocks too wide. That's not the end of the world. I have to make the road more crooked than it is in real life. But I can handle it. It's not the end of the world. This building here will have to be a little bit modified. I might sort of start, because it's not all one building. It's a bunch of buildings stacked onto each other to form a street. So I might start the next building sort of here instead of here, and slowly bring it in a diagonal along with the road, because the road will have to be crooked, which is fine. Again, I just have to plan it out, figure out where I want it to go, and do the math to make sure it's even. On the whole, I like both buildings. This is pretty. I don't know what it is about sort of the Romanesque white marble buildings with pillars that I just like. It's kind of got a Frenchy roof. I know that's terribly technical of me, because Frenchy is technical and not disrespectful to French architecture, obviously. You can hear the sarcasm, right? I'm not a professional architect. I wanted to be, but so I don't know the names of things. But this bit looks sort of Romany to me, with the pillars, and the top, the roof is curved in such a way that it looks like a lot of the buildings in Paris. I actually go through Google Maps often and just like look at different cities, zoom in on different sectors of different cities and different areas to look at the architecture and what things look like. And Paris always looks like it's all pretty much the same height. There doesn't seem to be many, if any, skyscrapers other than obviously the pointy towery thing. I'm showing that I live on the exact opposite side of the world, not knowing immediately knowing the name of the Eiffel Tower. But so both buildings don't have floors, although I have marked where the floors are. It's harder to get in and out of there. So there is, and there's always stairs as well, and lights, just in case I one day turn on the mobs. I don't want accidental mob farms in my pretty buildings. I did the roof off camera just because it's just back and forth and really boring. And I've recently had sort of 2 fibro flare-ups, and the problem with fibro flare-ups is my brain kind of goes on holiday. I mean, it's kind of still on holiday because I'm still recovering from a migraine. And I didn't press record. I did this front, this face. I just copied it from the other side because it's pretty and it's not... The Google Maps version looks very, very boring, and I wanted it to be pretty on both sides. And I actually did the walls in this courtyard. I was watching Farscape, I think. I haven't done the garden yet. I'm not very good at landscaping, but I'll give it a go. But for the second half of this episode, I'm going to focus on the building that's going to go here, and obviously rearranging the road. I may have to change this corner of both of these parts of the building. They're technically 2 different buildings, even though they overlap. I don't actually... No, you can't get to from one to the other. I may change that. In the real building, there seems to be a building like here, next to this one. And the road's really narrow. I'm going to make this a 6 block... So 1 lane and a bit wide, sort of like a wide alleyway, if you will. This wide. So it'll have footpaths, it'll feel bigger. And in the real one, there's actually this sort of big building here, and there's a parking lot building here somewhere-ish. And then you actually sort of here-ish, there's a like a tunnel that comes in between under the building. There's a building above it, and in here is a parking lot. So I will try and do this line of buildings to this intersection. I may actually make this road sort of skip 1 or 2 blocks this way. It's a bit close here, and that is the goal. This space here. If I get really keen, you'll see more in the montage, but that's all I really need to do for now. And then once this is done, we can tackle the slightly harder stuff over here. I love my alley. It's completely not what reality is here in reality, but it's pretty. I enjoyed making this particular alley. Anyway, second time around. Wish me luck, and cue the music. welcome back. Isn't that pretty? So the upside of being on the edge of having a migraine for like 2 weeks is I can't go outside because of light sensitivity, but I can do lots of Minecraft, and lots I have done. At the end of the montage, I didn't finish this building because I kept making mistakes and then not recording it, and then when I found a design that was acceptable, I hadn't pressed record, and that's the downside of being on the edge of a migraine. My brain doesn't necessarily work as well as I'd like it to. By the time I got to this building, I was just like, oh, for goodness sakes, let's have it just done. So it's not brilliant. It could be prettier, and I think there needs to be more angles, and the roof is kind of dull, but you know, it's not the only roof that's dull. I also spent a day doing floors and then torching said floors, but it was a whole day. It was literally like 6 hours of just doot 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 doot, and it's very boring. I like this building. It's full of glass and all sunny and pretty. So they're all pretty much done. They've all got floors, they've all got stairs and some form of lighting. I really like this. This one is so pretty, especially from this angle. As long as you stay in the shadow. Really pretty. In real life, these two buildings are actually connected, but Aram is supposed to. There's a very particular vision that I have for the city of Aram. It's basically sort of take all of the sort of movie interpretations of New York City, particularly the really poor areas. Like I've actually used quite a lot from Harlem, quite a lot of buildings from Harlem, for example, because there's so many beautiful but like abandoned or run down, because about half of Aram is run down. The areas that are not inhabited by the super rich are totally run down. The university is only not run down because it's a university. So it's basically an organization that's for profit, so they can afford to maintain their buildings. So I put an alley in here because my vision of New York, at least from media, obviously the vision of New York you see on movies is very limited. And everything with the rebels happens in alleys, so I had to put alleys everywhere. So this is a tunnel with a fairly small glass building on top of it, and then an alley. In the actual real life thingy, this tunnel is covered with something else. I think the tunnel actually connects to this building, and you go under it into this area, and then there's more buildings smacked up against this building here. But this space is actually much smaller than it is in real life, so I just made it a nice big parking area. University here, at least the one that I went to, and Polytech I went to, Wintech, there was always sort of alleys between different buildings with parking spaces. Like this would be like a 3-lane or 4-lane, a 3 or 4 meter alley, walkway, whatever, 1 lane with parking. I haven't put the parking in because it takes effort and focus, and I haven't had a lot. So I'm really happy with the orange, the brick building. It's so pretty, and it matches my image of a lot of the buildings that match with the New York kind of vibe, at least the movie New York. There's a tunnel here in real life, but what's on the other side of the tunnel is boring and dull in real life. It's just like concrete with stairs and stuff. So I made a garden. It's not a cannon. It's just a garden. It's what I have mentioned before, a square bracket thing. It's a nice little haven area, and I made a park bench. You can't really sit on things, but it looks pretty. I liked this building when I made it, but it's just it's irritating me. So I'm going to have to change the facade. I'll probably keep the gates, but I also put a very narrow alley connection between the two buildings, like I said, just because it's easier. Oh yeah, I am not as lost as I thought I was. So what I've done so far is actually quite a lot. I'm kind of shocked that I got this much done in like a week and a bit. So, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 big buildings in one week. Ordinarily I'd do one building at a time, but I really like it if I can frame it right, like build it in the right order. I really like those super fast montages. So that's another bonus. I am probably going to be brave enough to do, there's actually a big hospital here in this block. It's like a big glass building and probably taller than the cruciform. I may be brave enough to do that. It's kind of wedge shaped, so we'll see what happens. For the next episode, we'll be moving this way with the goal of getting a road in next to that far brick building at the end here. I probably will not fix this end building that I really quite don't like. I'll probably just put floors and ceiling on it and leave it as it is. There's no way I can get it the way it looks in real life. There's too much detail. So I might as well just use it as another building. But the goal is to get the road from over there somewhere. Yeah, from the corner. Spin it around the side of this big building where it's sort of diagonal. Past here and to end up over there. And then just fill this space with buildings as much as is in real life as possible. There's also a line, I think it's about here-ish, a line this way, because in the original this is a straight road. It goes all the way to the road that goes this way. And there's a line of like those, I can't remember what they're called, narrow houses with no yards, and they're kind of long and they're stacked next to each other, whatever those are called. We don't really have those here. I'm going to put a bunch of them to simulate the places where the students live. I may even see if I can replicate the halls of residence at my university around here somewhere. There's one, I think it's called Bryant Hall. It was called Bryant Hall when I was there. That was 20 years ago. So it might be something else, called something else now. Because it's a relatively nice shape and it's got sticky outy bits and balconies that aren't really balconies because if you stand on them they'll break, you know, that kind of thing. It's, you know, students always get the hard end of a stick for accommodation and food and everything. So I might put sort of living quarters here ish and meld it with Bryant Hall and the stacked housing along here that's actually here. There's also a giant big ass church over here in real life. I think it's, yeah, here-ish. But in the Iranian culture, religion and everything else are separate. So, church and state does not exist. It is the state, and that is it. There is no, except for just after the Reformation War 1,000 years ago, there was no interference for secular government by religion. And same with things like university studying. They're secular and they're sacred are very separate. So I may see if I can find another sort of Gothic sort of building to replace it. But we'll see what happens. I'm gonna have a thinking break, like a week of thinking. I'm currently doing that for some of my writing. I've got to redesign something big. But I definitely want to change this facade because you compare I made it up myself ones with the replicas. I think I'm much better at doing replicas. I probably need to learn a lot more about construction and stuff and building design before I can really do decent self-designs myself. My theory with this was that it needed to be a plain box with interesting color contrasts because my university was filled with buildings that were boxes, like literally boxes with windows. But that doesn't really cut it in Minecraft. It needs to have a bit more shape. And until I can sort of add my own shape with my own sort of extra design, I might try and stick to replicas as much as possible. As always, if you have a favorite building that you like that might fit the theme, let me know. I'm thinking I might actually start a second game for the buildings that people want to see but won't fit into the Aram city sort of aesthetic and story. So I will probably be doing Windsor Castle, but not in this level. It'll be a separate building level. I'll just go down to street level so it's pretty. So let me know, and remember to like and subscribe if you're enjoying these videos. Put a comment if you have some ideas, and maybe we could build a building together or something. Maybe. But for now, I shall sign off. And one last look. And ara ni tosa.